Hello, my name's Tom Cahill. It's Tuesday, the 15th of October 2013. This is another one of my videos in a series linking the microcosm to the macrocosm insofar as something that affected me on the micro scale plus about another 1,000 people, and it continues to affect more people, and then something that's happened which will be very much more in the public eye on the macro scale, and how this similar kind of characters are often in play, and whenever these characters are involved, you can bet your bottom dollar it's widespread corruption, and you know that whenever they're involved with something bent is almost definitely going on. And once you see the pattern, it becomes very easy to spot. So there's no genius involved here. It's just a matter of looking at things in a slightly different way. Now, I put up a video yesterday about pedo McAlpine and Derek Lord, or a couple of videos. I actually called him Dennis Lord, so I'm sorry if there's anyone called Dennis Lord. It's Lord, Lord, yeah. I meant Derek Lord, the black man. He was on Celebrity Big Brother. He's got a very posh accent. He used to be a Tory lobbyist, and he's a prolific raper of sort of teenage boys, possibly other stuff. But that was one of his favourite things. He used to be McAlpine's, one of his raping companions. They go and rape children at boarding schools. Not boarding schools, children's homes and stuff like that. And this was reported widely at the time, but McAlpine didn't feel like taking any further at the time, despite he was outright accused. They even detailed injuries they'd inflicted on the boys. They even had named police who'd investigated them. They even had affidavits that had been signed. So apparently now somebody just hinting he's got a guilty conscience is something he'd take more seriously now in his later years of life. When he was 20 years ago, he would have been probably in a lot better shape to fight these allegations, and in Scallywag magazine they actually challenged him to sue them. Anyway, one of the things that worried me was, what you've got to realise, when you go out on a limb and tell the truth in England, you're always on very dodgy ground. So you've got to be very careful, because people will pick up on the most stupidest, smallest thing, and they'll start, saying, "Oh, but you said Dennis Lord rather than Derek Lord. Therefore, every other single thing you said is wrong. You're an idiot." Because basically, if you're not a sheep like everybody else, they just seek to pull you down like crabs in a bucket. That's the way the peasant mindset works, because they're so brainwashed that they can never see them having any effect on anything. And when they see that person thinks they can, if you're not like spectacularly wealthy or on the telly, they think, what the fuck, who the fuck do they think they are? And they get very, very jealous, get very, very angry with you. It's something that you'll notice whenever you start telling the truth in England. It drives people into a rage. Now, the problem was, I looked at one of the little thumbnails I put on one of the YouTube videos, and it was a quotation which was attributed to Lord McAlpine. Now, I was a bit tired last night, and I just put that as I don't know much about YouTube videos, but one of the things is, you basically just press play and you can record stuff and stick it on, but then it has like a thumbnail that you can select, and that thumbnail is the thumbnail which will be featured on the kind of, the little lists on the the right hand side of the YouTube columns, and that will be the picture that will crop up, so that will be the sort of identifying picture for that video, and then as soon as you press play it just goes onto the video. Anyway, with Lord McAlpine, like this quote, I just thought, hang on a minute, where did I see that? Because it was like a quote written on top of a picture of him, and I thought, where did I get that from? I shouldn't have put that up, because I hadn't actually checked to see where it was, which is unusual for me. But I don't know, for some reason I don't really know why I did it. Anyway, I sort of had a little bit of a panic. Thought, well, I want to be belt and braces on this. I don't want to get picked up on like not dotting one of my I's or crossing my T's. I mean, obviously he's definitely a paedophile. There's no question about it. Or if he's not a paedophile, he didn't mind being called a paedophile for about 20 years. When it was published. So whether he is one or he isn't one, he had no objection to being aligned as one then, so it's a bit rich to start going on about it now. That's the way my brain tells me that we need to analyse this. Anyway, right, so I looked up this quote, and you will not believe it, right? Not only did he say that it's a good idea to put stalking horse arguments up, like false allegations about something you've actually done, and you put up a puppet who'll sort of deliberately crash and burn, so then other people won't want to accuse you of the same thing again. He hasn't just said that, he's written an entire book, which is kind of like a modern spin on Machiavelli's book, The Prince. Now, I've read The Prince in the past, and it's a good book. Very interesting thing about The Prince that you realise is that a lot of people pretend they've read Machiavelli's books to pretend they're clever, and they start saying things about the books which are, definitely not true if you've read them. Like, they always say that, oh, he's a psychopath, he's very evil. But he wasn't actually very evil. He's just saying this is the kind of thing that the kind of cunts who run everything, this is the kind of things that they do. He's not saying that people should do them. He's saying that this is the kind of thing they do. Killing their own side, false flag terrorism, putting a purported enemy up which doesn't really exist. All the type of stuff that the government does today on a daily basis, like the fucking two black men who used to work for MI5 who saw a man with a t-shirt and then speeded up. How on earth did they see what it said on his t-shirt? If they're driving down that road, it's a very busy road, so they couldn't have they would have been in a traffic jam. How on earth could they have speeded up? I mean, what did they see in the hunt? Did they have like the eyes of a hawk? Did they see this little slogan on his t-shirt miles away? I mean, they'd have to be like 100 metres away. They could have read it. So they saw Help for Heroes, and then they sped up, just poof, smashed into him. What a load of bollocks. That's the biggest load of bollocks ever. And then they got shot with dum-dum bullets. One of them got shot 4 times. Every single person who's ever been shot by the police in the last 20 or so years has died, right? All of them. There's about 30 people. All of them have been killed. Or 30 they've admitted, right? All of them dead, because dum-dum bullets blow you to pieces, right? This guy's been shot 4 times, and about 2 or 3 days later he's in court and he's fine. It's absolute bollocks. It's the biggest load of bollocks ever. But you see, when people believe absolutely insanely stupid stories like that, and they start publishing, they chop the guy's head off, and then it turns out they hadn't chopped the head off, but they never can. You know, the story never got corrected. It's the biggest load of rubbish. And if people believe that, they will literally believe anything. The thing that worries me now, of course, is the fact that if people are stupid enough to believe that those 2 ex-MI5 agents converted to Muslimism and just decided to sort of like go around running people over and chopping their heads off, you know, if people are stupid enough to believe that, they will literally believe anything. So, you know, the country is basically done for. It's basically finished. So that's the way I view it. But anyway, turns out Lord McAlpine has written a book called The New Machiavelli, The Art of Politics in Business by Alastair McAlpine. Right now, I'll read this quote because I believe this quote is actually from that book. So it's not just he's just said this one-off thing about how you should use, you know, devious tactics to get the better of the imbeciles in the country. This is what he's actually published in a book. But anyway, this is just a quote. It says, "Another useful ploy is the false accusation. First, create a situation where you are wrongly accused. Then, at a convenient moment, arrange for the false accusation to be shown to be false beyond all doubt. Those who have made accusations become discredited. Further accusations will then be treated with great suspicion." Lord Alastair McAlpine. So he's basically he's even written a book about doing these straw men. It's called a straw man argument, isn't it? Where you set up a straw man that can be pushed down, and of course, if you control the straw man, you can discredit. You know, you got that imbecile Burko. You can easily make her look like an idiot, and she just looks like some dizzy woman who's a middle-aged woman who doesn't really know what she's doing. But the point is, she knows full well what she's doing, and this whole thing about putting things up about him being guilty conscience or whatever, it's all very obvious. But anyway, there is a book that Lord McAlpine's wrote. It's on Amazon. You can buy it for $10.15. Probably you can get it in England as well. But anyway, it's cropped up on the American one, so I'd imagine it's not too expensive. And you can probably read about all sorts of other dodgy stuff, and you can apply it to all sorts of other things that he's been up to. But I was actually quite shocked. So he's actually basically written a book about broadcasting the kind of cover-up which we've seen, and that the judiciary and other lawyers have all gone along with, which is quite disgusting. You know, these people, you know, apparently this Tug-Enant or whatever, he's the top liable judge in the country. Well, it's a bit like the Attorney General saying it's all right to go to war with Iraq. You know, it seems the higher you get to the top in the British establishment, you just devoid of any concept of law and order. It's all just complete bentness. Anyway, I just thought I'd add that because a lot of people probably wondering where that quote came from, and it looks very much like it came from this book. He's actually written a book about doing this kind of thing. You just could not make it up. He's broadcasting the fact, and then using Burko to not even and then they didn't even look into the actual first principle matter of what he's done, and the 2 defences she should have used, which was he collects paedophilic art of young girls from Graham Roverton, and then he guiltily sold them all when he got started. The paedophile accusations started happening, and then he's also like been accused of it in Scallywag magazine about 15, 20 years ago, and he didn't do anything then. Why didn't they use this? So with this one, it's like a watered down version of what his concept would be, because that would be like you'd accuse him of financial sleaze. Someone had accused them, and then they'd find out that that particular thing that they'd stole some money for wasn't stolen, it was actually spent on something else. It would be something like that. But with this one, it's quite clear that what they've done here is exactly what he's described in his own book. Also, apparently Maggie Thatcher described this book as something like a shrewd discourse on politics or something like that. And as we know, Jimmy Savile spent 11 out of 11 New Years at Maggie Thatcher's house while she was in office as Prime Minister, with her and her husband. All of the letters between the two of them have now got D notices, that's defence notices attached to them, so they're not allowed to be published, right? So, I mean, I don't think it's too much of a jump of the imagination to think that clearly we used to have piracy licenses in this country, so you used to be able to go and like kill Spanish and French and steal their stuff, and you'd be allowed to keep some of it. You're like a privateer. So we used to have piracy licenses. We have licenses to kill. We do have them. So if you're like a secret agent and you want to go abroad and go and murder a few people, if you have to murder a few more people, they're not going to stop pestering, going, "No, but you shouldn't have killed all three of them. You should only kill two of them." Because obviously it'd be a nightmare. It'd be very impractical. You just go around, you just pop them all. You don't want to be like, "Oh, that one out of those 10 people didn't do anything." Of course, you've got piracy licenses, you get licenses to kill, and it seems you also get licenses to commit paedophilia. If it's in line with the establishment's aims, you will get one, and that's what it seems to me Jimmy Savile effectively had. Now, I don't know if it's written down on a bit of paper, but it seems pretty obvious to me that he had a paedophile license. So what other licenses are the top of the government giving out and not letting anybody know about? Interestingly, during World War II, we had M section, M with an M, yeah, I don't know if I said that, so it could have sounded like an N. M section, Desmond Morton was in charge of M section. Desmond Morton, even though he interfaced with Churchill, he was paid for by a budget by the king. So it was an invisible budget, only the king paid for. So you've got to remember that the top of the intelligence establishment is paid for in a kind of black, not a black budget. It's just a budget which is just not. It's not even a black budget. It's completely separate from all the other budgets. So there's no oversight from the civil service. It's completely separate. It doesn't go through any of the normal chains of command. It goes straight to the top. It goes straight to the monarch. So the monarch controls these things. Now, you've got Jimmy Savile constantly going and seeing the royal family all the time he was in power. Completely fit. If he's doing paedophile fit-ups and stuff for the royal family and accommodating foreign dignitaries who are paedophiles and doing spying and all that stuff, all this paedophile cover-up stuff, why was he going to see the prince? Why was he going to see Prince Philip? Why was he going to see Prince Charles? Why was there a thing in the newspapers about Prince Philip having a big bust-up with Jimmy Savile? Listen, Prince Philip's effectively the king of the country, right? If you've got an entourage of bodyguards, you don't even have a mobile phone. I've never seen one of the royals with a mobile phone. That's another interesting point. You don't have a big bust-up with some crank off the TV or off the radio. You just don't phone him up again and you say, don't put him through. You don't have a big bust-up with him. It's kind of undignified because you're trying to put yourself up on a pedestal. You're saying, look, I'm the boss, I'm a divine right of rulers, or I'm just the head of state. It's undignified if you're giving it to them in the very kind of like, they're giving them the most sympathetic view of it. It's totally undignified for you to have a kind of like tit-for-tat argument with some crank DJ who, goes around with a cigar and he's all like, talking all silly voices and stuff. It's complete nonsense. So the whole thing is, when he was going to see, say for instance, Prince Charles went to see Jimmy Savile in his little house out in the middle of the wilds in Scotland, what were they doing up there? Now, it wasn't in the middle of a town. There was nothing much to do. So what were they going up there to discuss? I don't know. But the whole point is, Jimmy Savile had a conduit right to the top of government. He was not going through any kind of normal procedures. And I think this is very, very important to remember. So you've got the new Machiavelli. Maggie Thatcher endorsed it. If you look at Machiavelli's book, The Prince, it was kind of advice to princes about how to control things. I would say that Lord McAlpine knows quite a lot about how to control things. And I think, lobbyist Dennis Law knows quite a lot about how to control things. And I think they realise that they've lost control now. and that the people who probably considered them very, very useful servants of the state probably now consider them a dangerous liability. And if they, I believe they're both out of the country now, if they come back into the country, I think they're very likely to be found, with a heart attack or strung up or, car accident, the normal thing. They'll get killed. I don't think they'll be long for this earth now. I think they've basically outlived their usefulness. That's my feelings on it. I'm not sure of that. I'm pretty sure they're out of the country. I definitely don't think they'll be coming back. And if they do come back, they'll be coming back in a box. And then there'll be these revelations about how they actually were raping children, and it was right all along. And how on earth did it all go wrong? I can see it coming. But anyway, I just wanted to make a correction on that thing primarily, and that was just a little bit of superfluous commentary. But the new Machiavelli, The Art of Politics in Business, Alastair McAlpine, might be worth having a little look at it, seeing if there's any other little nuggets in there. Alright, thanks a lot. Bye bye.